Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, as the world around you begins to quiet, as the last glow of day fades into dusk, and shadows soften into stillness, you are invited to step away from the present. To let the weight of the day dissolve. To settle into a gentler rhythm, a rhythm shaped not by deadlines or screens, but by wind, water, stone, and sun. Perhaps you are lying in bed now, wrapped in soft blankets, eyes already growing heavy. Or maybe you're reclining in a favorite chair, the room lit only by the dim flicker of a candle or the soft hum of evening silence. Wherever you are, and however you find yourself, this is your moment to unwind, to let go, to drift backward, gently, calmly, into history. Because tonight, we will visit a world that no longer exists, yet still lingers in ruins and memory, a world of sacred lakes, towering pyramids, and an empire that once ruled the heart of Mesoamerica. We are going to explore the story of the Aztec Empire. But not in the way that history books often do. This is not a tale of conquest and clashing swords, nor a recounting of violent encounters and dramatic downfall, though such things are part of the past, and we will not ignore them. Rather, tonight, we will whisper this story, slowly, gently, allowing the past to unfold like a tapestry of soft images, subtle textures, and quiet rhythms. Because beneath every fall of empire lies 1,000 ordinary days. And so we begin not with the conquerors or the cataclysm, but with the people. The farmers and artisans. The market sellers and priests. The children learning to grind maize beside their mothers, or to trace glyphs beneath the steady gaze of their tutors. We begin with the daily life of the Aztecs, the rhythm of a civilization moving through time like the slow, measured beat of a ceremonial drum. And then, we will lift our gaze to one man, Montezuma II, whose name has come down to us surrounded by myth and misunderstanding. We will explore his world, his choices, and the strange and fateful meeting between his people and those who arrived from across the sea. Later still, we will follow the threads of mystery and meaning buried beneath temples and lakes, unearth secrets of ritual, astronomy, and art. We will visit sacred ruins. We will listen to the echoes that remain. And finally, we will ascend to the upper levels of society, to the lives of the elite, the contrast between power and poverty, between ruler and farmer, priest and soldier. We will explore the delicate lattice of Aztec class and ceremony, the subtle performances of rank and reverence. Throughout our journey, you may notice your thoughts begin to drift. You may find your breath slowing, your limbs growing heavier, your eyelids gently closing. That, too, is part of the journey. There is no need to stay fully alert. This is not a test or a lesson to memorize. It is a story meant to soothe, to calm, to lull you, gently, toward sleep. The empire we will visit tonight is long gone. But for a little while, together, we will walk its quiet causeways, hear the soft rustle of its feathered cloaks, smell the spice and maize of its market stalls, and listen for the soft murmur of prayers rising into the twilight. Oh, and if you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I am super curious where you're all listening from. So, drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Always blows my mind how people are falling asleep to this all over the world. So now, let your mind travel. Let it float across time and water. Let us begin. With the rhythm of daily life, in the city at the center of a shimmering lake. In the empire of the Mexica, the people we know as the Aztecs. Imagine the sun rising, not with a blaze, but slowly, softly, over the glassy waters of Lake Texcoco. The city is still half asleep. A warm mist clings to the surface of the canals, curling lazily around the wooden piers. Birds begin their morning songs, clear, flute-like calls that drift across the water. From a distance, the city of Tenochtitlan appears to float, its white plaster temples and reed rooftops shimmering in the early light. You are here now, in a place of balance. A world that moves by quiet rhythm, not haste. Let us begin the day, in the home of a family whose life is simple, structured, and deeply woven into the fabric of an empire. The home is small, but clean. The walls are made of adobe, covered in a smooth whitewash. The roof is thatched with reeds, gathered from the lake's edge. Inside, there is only what is needed: sleeping mats, clay pots, woven baskets, and the familiar presence of the temazcal, a small sweat bath used for purification, carved partly into the earth. The family rises before dawn. A faint glow seeps in through a woven curtain. The mother, wrapping herself in a cotton huepul, moves quietly to the hearth. She begins to prepare nixtamal, soaked maize, ground with a smooth stone on a matate. The soft scraping sound of stone on stone is like a heartbeat. Steady. Grounding. Outside, the father steps into a canoe, narrow and light, carved from awiwadi wood. He paddles along the canal in silence, heading toward the chinampas, floating gardens that feed the city. The water is mirror-like, disturbed only by the gentle ripple of his paddle. The air is rich with the smell of damp earth, lake lilies, and the faint wood smoke drifting from dozens of quiet homes nearby. The chinampas are unlike anything seen elsewhere in the world, thin, rectangular plots of land built upon the lake's surface using mud, reeds, and roots. They are held together by willow trees, their long branches trailing in the water like fingers. Each plot is a miracle of engineering. Rows of maize, amaranth, tomatoes, chili, and squash grow in orderly lines. Between the rows, small channels reflect the sky. A heron lands nearby, folding its wings with elegant calm. The father works methodically. He loosens soil with a wooden digging stick called a coa, pulls a few weeds, and gathers fresh vegetables into a woven basket. Every gesture is familiar, repeated from his father's time, and his father's before that. This work is not hurried. It follows the sun, the seasons, and the Tanapwali, the sacred calendar that gives each day its energy. Nearby, other farmers chant soft greetings, their voices bouncing gently over the water. There is no competition here. Only rhythm. Only balance. Back in the city, the children prepare for the day. 2 boys, aged 7 and 10, prepare to walk with their father to the Telpakali, the local school for commoner boys. They carry bundles of wood as tribute and a symbol of responsibility. The youngest daughter, no more than 6, sits beside her mother, learning to weave. Her small hands move carefully over threads dyed in soft earth tones. She is not idle. Every gesture prepares her for her place in the world. Before they leave, the family gathers in front of a small household altar. A figure of Tlazolteotl, goddess of purification, rests beside bundles of incense and a small bowl of water. The mother lights copal, and as its sweet, resinous smoke rises, she murmurs a prayer, not loudly, not dramatically, but with the quiet intimacy of habit. This is not a ritual to attract attention. It is one of countless private acts that connect home and cosmos, family and God. By mid-morning, Tenochtitlan begins to stir. The city is unlike any other in the world. Built upon a series of islands and linked by 3 great causeways, it is home to over 200,000 people. Canals crisscross its quarters, acting as roads. Flat-bottomed canoes glide silently between homes and markets, bearing goods and passengers. There are no wheels here. No draft animals. Everything is carried by human strength, by trained porters called tlame, who walk slowly, steadily, often with burdens of clay, cacao, or salt tied across their backs. The sounds of the city are soft but constant. The low murmur of conversation in Nahuatl, rhythmic and melodic. The splash of water against canoes. The distant, steady beat of a drum, perhaps marking the time of a public ritual. Vendors call out their wares in a sing-song cadence. Children giggle near the market steps. Priests walk by, faces calm, their cloaks embroidered with sacred signs. But even in this activity, there is no chaos. Every person knows their place, their task, their path. Let us now walk to Tlatelolco, the largest market in the empire. It stretches wide, open to the sky, arranged with mathematical care. Goods are grouped by type, food in one quadrant, clothing in another, tools in yet another. A soft orderliness governs everything. Here, hundreds, sometimes tens of thousands, gather daily. There are merchants from distant provinces, speaking many languages. Some have walked for weeks to arrive. They bring rare feathers, turquoise, jaguar pelts, smoked fish, dried herbs, obsidian, cacao, honey, salt, cochineal dye, and copper bells. Women browse stalls with quiet deliberation. They touch cloth to test its weave. They smell beans, fruit, and chili. Some carry babies on their backs, wrapped in bright shawls. In one corner, judges sit beneath a cloth canopy. They are there not to enforce harsh laws, but to resolve disputes gently and with balance. A quiet word. A fair decision. The market is a place of trust. And as you walk through, the scents rise around you. Roasted maize, sweet aguamiel drawn from maguey, earthy beans simmering in clay pots, and flowers, so many flowers, sold in bundles of red, orange, yellow, white. The market is not a spectacle. It is life, arranged and shared. In the distance, rising above the rooftops and trees, the Templo Mayor stands like a great stone heart. The temple's twin staircases rise steeply, flanked by sculptures of serpents and gods. Though it may seem still from a distance, the temple hums with silent power. Priests in black or red robes climb its steps at dawn and dusk. They carry offerings, flowers, incense, song. Sacrifice happens here. But we will not dwell on it in detail. Know only that to the Aztecs, offering was obligation, not cruelty. Blood was sacred essence, returned to the gods who gave it. At the base of the temple, smaller shrines mark the cycles of the Tonalpwali and Xiapawali, the ritual and solar calendars. Each day has a name. A sign. A deity. And those who follow it carefully know when to plant, when to sing, when to mourn, and when to celebrate. The city moves not to the tick of a clock, but to the breath of the cosmos. By early afternoon, the sun sits high, and the city quiets slightly. Back in the home, the mother prepares the main meal. A stew of beans, chili, and squash simmers gently over the fire. Tortillas, still warm from the comal, are stacked beside the hearth, wrapped in a cotton cloth. The children return from school. The boys are tired from labor and recitation. The girl shows her mother the small reed doll she has woven. There is no loud praise. Only a nod. A soft smile. Encouragement in calm form. The meal is eaten together, seated on mats. No table. No rush. Between bites, they speak softly about the day, who passed by, what omens were seen, what the neighbors are planting. Afterward, the mother sweeps the floor with a bundle of stiff grass. The father sharpens a tool with obsidian. The daughter sings quietly to herself while brushing a clay pot clean. It is a world of small tasks. Of focus. Of care. As evening approaches, the sun dips low and the sky deepens into gold. The city glows in soft light. The temples cast long shadows. The water reflects the world upside down, buildings, clouds, trees, all gently trembling with the motion of the lake. Fishermen return with their catch. Women walk home with bundles of herbs tied with twine. Dogs bark once, then settle near doorways. Smoke rises in gentle columns from 100 hearths. The family gathers again, this time for quiet ritual. The father sprinkles maize near the door, an offering for protection. The mother recites a short prayer for good dreams. The children help fold the sleeping mats, brushing them clean before placing them carefully on the floor. A final meal, light, simple. Perhaps a toll, warm and sweetened with honey. Or a tamal wrapped in fresh green leaves. And then, stillness. Night comes quietly to Tenochtitlan. Above, the sky is clear. The stars shine with unusual clarity, reflected in the lake as if the earth has doubled itself. The moon drifts slowly overhead, watched by the silent outlines of temples and willows. The family sleeps, close together, their breath deep and even. Crickets sing from the reeds. An owl calls once, distant and soft. Somewhere nearby, a priest beats a hollow drum to mark the passage of another hour, 3 notes, spaced apart like a heartbeat. And the city, so vast, so alive, rests, not in silence, but in harmony. The daily life of the Aztec people was not defined by conquest or ceremony alone. It was not all sacrifice or splendor. It was this. The gentle motion of a canoe. The steady press of maize against stone. The touch of cloth being woven. The scent of copal rising like memory into the night. It was structure, yes. And labor. And belief. But above all, it was rhythm. The rhythm of the sun. The lake. The breath. And as we now leave this ordinary day in an extraordinary world behind, may its calm remain with you. Let your own breath slow. Let your thoughts drift like mist over quiet water. Let the rhythm of their lives become the rhythm of your sleep. Let us begin again in stillness. The sun hangs low in the sky, filtered through pale clouds, casting soft golden light over the shimmering rooftops of Tenochtitlan. From the highest temple to the humblest garden, the empire breathes in harmony. But high above the city, in a palace of painted stone and shaded gardens, one man carries the weight of it all, the weight of time, of prophecy, and of empire. His name is Motokazoma Xocoyotzin, or as he is more widely known to the modern world. Montezuma II. He is the final ruler of an unbroken chain of emperors. The one who stood at the edge of a world unknowingly changing. Let us not rush to the moment of contact. Let us begin long before, when his empire still thrived, and the rhythm of his days flowed like those of the people, only heavier. Only more watched. Only more burdened by dreams. Come, and let us walk, slowly and quietly, beside the emperor. Montezuma was born into privilege, but not ease. His early years were shaped in the Kalmakak, the school for the sons of nobility. Life there was stripped of luxury. The boys rose before the sun, bathed in cold water, ate sparingly, and slept on mats with no blankets. Each discomfort was deliberate, a preparation for command. The Kalmakak was a place of learning, yes, but also of humility. Teachers, often priests, used firm words and long silences. They taught the boys to endure hunger, heat, and humiliation without complaint. Montezuma learned to walk with measured steps, to speak only when invited, and to listen more than he spoke. Here, he absorbed the sacred calendars, memorized prayers and histories, learned ritual speech, and studied the codices, the painted books of his people. And most importantly, he learned that he was never alone. Not truly. For behind his life stood the weight of the gods. Montezuma's early life took him first into the priesthood, where his discipline deepened. He fasted for days, spoke little, and meditated upon the divine. His clothing was simple, his food plain. He spent long hours in quiet temples, surrounded by incense and stone, contemplating the will of Huitzilopochtli, the sun god and patron of war. He was, by all accounts, deeply devout, a man of vision, and perhaps even of doubt. Unlike rulers known for ambition or aggression, Montezuma's rise was marked by calm authority. When he became Teletoni, or he who speaks, in the year 1502, he was seen not only as a political figure, but as a spiritual vessel, the living voice of the gods. His first years as emperor were spent not in conquest, but in reorganization. Montezuma restructured the nobility, increased the grandeur of court rituals, and reinforced the spiritual authority of the throne. He made the palace more distant, more sacred. Even high-ranking nobles needed permission to look directly upon his face. To the people, he seemed both more and less human. The emperor's palace was vast, but never boisterous. Though filled with courtiers, messengers, servants, and emissaries, it was a place of measured movement and quiet protocol. Montezuma himself rarely spoke publicly. When he did, his words were poetic, full of metaphor and soft warnings. He was said to walk with his gaze lowered, his robe trailing behind him like a tide. He bathed daily in sacred water. He fasted often, even as feasts were prepared around him. He met with priests and soothsayers more than with generals. To many, this devotion signaled a ruler in harmony with the divine. To others, perhaps, it suggested a man too watchful of the heavens. Still, Montezuma ruled an empire that flourished. Tribute poured in from dozens of provinces: cacao, jade, jaguar pelts, obsidian blades, cotton, feathers, and maize. The great market at Tlatelolco was the busiest in the known world. His city was cleaner, safer, and more orderly than any city in Europe at the time. But there were rumors, and omens, that something was shifting. In the years leading up to 1519, strange things were said to have occurred. A comet streaked across the sky, glowing red and long-tailed. A temple caught fire, though untouched by flame. The lake around Tenochtitlan hissed and bubbled as if boiling in places. Voices were heard in the night, lamenting that the gods had abandoned the city. Whether these events truly happened as described, or were remembered only after the fall, is difficult to say. But what matters is that the people believed them. And Montezuma, steeped in ritual and prophecy, listened closely. The Aztecs believed in cyclical time. That history moved in loops. That empires rose and fell in patterns foretold by the stars. And some believed that the return of the feathered god Quetzalcoatl, a white-skinned deity from the east, was near. So when, in 1519, word came of large boats on the eastern horizon, carrying pale-skinned, bearded men in metal shells, Montezuma did not respond with haste. He responded with ritual. Messengers brought reports of strange beings. Men who rode beasts that looked like deer, but larger. Men who carried thunder sticks that spat fire and smoke. Men who glinted like mirrors in the sun and refused to kneel before the gods. Montezuma sent gifts, not armies. Gold, cloaks, and food. To appease them, perhaps. Or to learn. Or to delay. To the Spanish, it seemed a gesture of submission. To the Aztecs it was the act of a priest-king, following the delicate protocol of divine strangers. He sought clarity, not conquest. He sent scouts. He held fasts. He consulted soothsayers. And the more he heard, the more troubled he became. For months, Montezuma did not move against the invaders. Instead, he watched. Waited. Prayed. Even as Cortés made alliances with his enemies, the Tlaxcalans, the Totonacs, Montezuma hesitated. His generals urged war. His people whispered. But the emperor held to caution. Perhaps he believed the strangers were gods. Or perhaps he feared tipping the balance too soon. At last, in late 1519, the Spaniards reached Cholula, and then Texcoco, and then the edge of the Great Lake. Their ships were dismantled and carried piece by piece. Their horses, so alien to the Aztecs, moved like spirits along the causeways. And still, Montezuma did not strike. On a cool November day, under a wide sky and before a silent crowd, Montezuma met Hernán Cortés. The emperor was carried on a litter draped with turquoise and gold. His face was serene, his robe flawless. His sandals touched the ground only when he chose. And when he descended to greet the Spanish captain, he did so with dignity, not submission. The two men exchanged gifts. Words. Gestures heavy with meaning and misunderstanding. Montezuma welcomed Cortés to his city. He offered him residence in a palace. He invited him to observe, to share, to witness. But within days, the Spaniards took Montezuma captive in his own palace. Not violently. Not loudly. Simply, carefully. And so the emperor, who had once ruled the most powerful empire in Mesoamerica, found himself watched. His movements restricted. His speeches filtered. Still, he remained composed. He performed his rituals. He spoke with courtiers. He hoped to maintain harmony. But harmony was slipping. Tensions mounted. The Spaniards demanded more gold. They dismantled idols, replacing them with Christian images. They interrupted ceremonies, broke taboos, and inflamed resentment. Rumors spread that Montezuma had become their puppet. That he no longer served the gods or the people. In the spring of 1520, while Cortés was away confronting a Spanish rival at the coast, his lieutenant Pedro de Alvarado ordered the massacre at the Templo Mayor, slaughtering unarmed dancers during a religious festival. The city erupted in fury. The people rose. The palace was surrounded. The air filled with chants and smoke and vengeance. Montezuma, now a prisoner, was sent to calm the people. He stood on the rooftop of his palace, speaking softly. Calling for peace. Asking for patience. But the people no longer listened. Some say they turned on him. Some say he was struck by a stone. Others say he chose to die rather than continue as a symbol of surrender. He died in June of 1520. The city fell into chaos. Montezuma's death was not the fall of the Aztec Empire, but it was a turning point. The calm authority he had embodied was gone. The empire would fight fiercely on, led by Cuitlahuac and then Cuauhtémoc, but the rhythm of the old world had fractured. And as the sun set over the lake, the future, uncertain and dark, settled like a shadow. Imagine now, the weight of Montezuma's crown. Not gold or jewels, but the invisible burden of fate. Imagine the slow, careful steps he took in his palace gardens. The quiet prayers whispered at dawn. The relentless toll of watching, waiting, and hoping against change. His was a reign not marked by conquest, but by waiting for a storm. And as we move gently toward the next segment, the mystery, archaeology, and culture that echo through time, let the calm and complexity of Montezuma's life settle within you. Breathe slowly. Feel the rhythm of patience, uncertainty, and grace. And when you are ready, we will continue our journey. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast excavation site, the air warm and still. The ground beneath your feet, layered with centuries of silence, begins to reveal its secrets, fragments of pottery, shards of obsidian, faint outlines of walls long buried beneath the earth. The Aztec Empire, though vanished in its original form, lives on in these traces. In the artifacts, the ruins, the whispered stories encoded in stone and pigment. Let us now walk gently through these echoes, exploring the archaeology and culture that reveal not only how the Aztec world ended, but how it continues to breathe beneath the surface. The city of Tenochtitlan lay beneath modern-day Mexico City like a sleeping giant. For centuries after the Spanish conquest, the sprawling metropolis grew atop the ancient ruins. Buildings were repurposed, stones carried away. Yet, beneath the streets, the foundations endured, waiting. Archaeologists have, over the last century, peeled back layers of modern life to reveal the temples, canals, and palaces of the old city. Walking through the excavated zones, one can almost hear the lapping of lake waters, the faint chants from temple plazas, the footsteps of priests and merchants. Among the most evocative discoveries is the Templo Mayor, the great temple of Tenochtitlan, the spiritual heart of the empire. Its massive stone base, carved with serpent heads and jaguar motifs, rises in stepped tiers, silent witnesses to the ceremonies that once echoed here. Each stone tells a story. The Templo Mayor was more than a temple, it was a cosmic axis, connecting earth and sky. Dedicated to the dual gods Huitzilopochtli, god of war and the sun, and Tlaloc, god of rain and fertility, its design symbolized the balance of forces in the Aztec world. Archaeologists have uncovered offerings buried within its walls, jade figurines, twisted bones, ceramic bowls filled with incense residue, and obsidian blades carefully placed as gifts. Some discoveries are puzzling, such as the presence of human remains found in ceremonial contexts. These remains tell of rituals and sacrifices, but the details are often fragmentary, inviting questions rather than clear answers. What did these sacrifices mean to the Aztecs? How did they shape daily life and belief? And what echoes do they leave for us today? Beyond temples and tombs, the everyday Aztec world emerges through the objects left behind. Clay pots, many blackened from cooking fires, show evidence of maize, beans, chili, and squash, the staples of their diet. Textiles, preserved in fragments, reveal intricate weaving patterns, dyed with natural pigments like cochineal red and indigo blue. These colors were not merely decorative, they signified status, identity, and connection to nature. Tools made of obsidian, sharp and gleaming, were used for farming, crafting, and even surgery. Jewelry made of gold and turquoise hinted at the wealth of the elite but also the spiritual beliefs tied to precious materials. All these artifacts together paint a picture of a society both complex and intimately connected to its environment. One of the most famous cultural artifacts is the Aztec calendar stone, often mistaken as merely a timekeeping device. In truth, it is a rich tapestry of myth, astronomy, and ritual. Carved into basalt, the stone depicts the 5 worlds or suns, each ending in cataclysm. The current era, the 5th sun, was believed to be fragile, destined to end in fire or earthquake. The central face, often identified as the sun god Tonatiuh, is surrounded by glyphs representing days, months, and cosmic cycles. The stone is a reminder of the Aztecs' deep awareness of time, not just linear, but cyclical and sacred. It is a symbol of their worldview, that life, death, and rebirth are intertwined, and that the present is always balanced between creation and destruction. Tenochtitlan was built on a lake, a vast, shimmering body of water with shifting currents and changing tides. To build their city, the Aztecs engineered chinampas, floating gardens made from layers of soil and vegetation. These fertile plots provided food year-round, shimmering like emerald jewels on the lake's surface. Aqueducts carried fresh water into the city. Canals threaded through neighborhoods, enabling transport by canoe. This intricate relationship with water was not only practical but spiritual. Water was life. It was sacred. The rising and falling of the lake shaped the rhythm of the city. The sounds of paddles dipping, of water birds calling, of fish breaking the surface, all were part of the daily pulse. The Aztecs recorded their history and knowledge in codices, painted manuscripts created with painstaking care. These codices, though few survive intact, offer glimpses into religion, genealogy, tribute systems, and cosmology. They are vibrant, alive with color and form, showing dancers, warriors, priests, and gods in detailed scenes. One famous example is the Codex Mendoza, created shortly after the conquest, which records tribute paid by conquered towns, maps, lists, and illustrations that tell of a vast empire held together by complex relationships. Reading a codex is like stepping into a living mural, each symbol a note in the symphony of Aztec life. Though the empire collapsed, many aspects of Aztec culture endured. Today, descendants of the Aztecs live in Mexico and beyond, carrying forward languages like Nahuatl, traditional foods, and rituals. Festivals still echo ancient ceremonies, often blended with Christian elements introduced during colonization. The spirit of Tenochtitlan lingers in the stones beneath Mexico City, in the markets filled with chilies and maize, in the stories told at dusk. Archaeology and culture remind us that history is never truly lost, it sleeps, waits, and sometimes whispers back. Imagine now, standing quietly among these relics, shards of pottery, carvings worn smooth by time, the faint scent of earth disturbed. The mysteries of the Aztec world are not fully solved. They invite us to listen, to breathe, to wonder gently. The past is a soft murmur beneath our feet, a rhythm that can soothe as much as it can teach. And as you settle deeper into calm, let these whispered histories mingle with your thoughts. Let the quiet questions and the soft certainty of life's cycles lull you onward. Soon, we will turn to the final segment, where we explore the contrasts within Aztec society, the elite and the common, the sacred and the everyday. But for now, rest in this space of gentle discovery. Time, we move beyond temples and palaces into the vibrant tapestry of society itself. Here, the rhythm of life beats in multiple tempos, the quiet dignity of the nobles, the tireless labor of commoners, the vibrant ceremonies of priests, and the steady commerce of traders. Let us take a gentle, unhurried walk through these different worlds, noticing the contrasts and connections, and sensing the steady pulse that sustained the Aztec Empire. In the shadow of the great temples lived the majority, farmers, artisans, fishers, merchants, and laborers. Their homes were simple but sturdy, often made of adobe bricks with thatched roofs. Imagine the scent of damp earth mixing with the aroma of cooking chilies and roasted maize. Life for them was a constant rhythm of work and rest, punctuated by communal gatherings and rituals. By dawn, fishermen pushed their canoes into the shimmering waters, nets trailing softly. Farmers tended to their chinampas, feeling the cool mud between their fingers, planting seeds that would feed thousands. Artisans shaped obsidian blades with practiced hands, wove cotton into cloth, or painted bright patterns on pottery. Children played games with clay figures, learned songs from their parents, and watched as their families moved with the seasons. The staple diet centered on maize, prepared in countless ways, tortillas warmed on comals, stews thick with beans and squash, chilies adding heat and color. Food was simple but nourishing. Communal meals were occasions of connection. Markets like the one at Tlatelolco filled with the murmur of bargaining voices, the clatter of pottery, and the fragrance of fresh fruits. Festivals brought color and music, flutes, drums, and the ringing of conch shells. Even commoners took part in ceremonies honoring the gods of rain, harvest, and sun. The shared experience of food and ritual wove the people together, creating a sense of belonging. In stark contrast, the noble class moved through the city like shadows of grandeur. Their homes were larger, adorned with painted walls and fine textiles. Imagine walking barefoot on woven mats dyed with vivid reds and blues, hearing the quiet murmur of servants moving softly through rooms. Nobles were educated in the Kalmukak, learning history, poetry, and governance. They wore clothing marked by feathers and jade, symbols of status and divine favor. Their days were filled with ritual observance, offerings to the gods, elaborate feasts, and ceremonies in the palace or temple precincts. Noble children trained in warfare and leadership, prepared to continue the legacy of empire. The warrior class, closely tied to the nobility, held a special place. Fierce but disciplined, they trained in schools called telpakali, learning to use the macuaweevil, the obsidian-edged sword, and the otlotl, a spear-thrower. War was not merely violence, it was a sacred duty, a means of capturing prisoners for ritual sacrifice, and a path to honor. Imagine the slow beat of drums at a warrior's feast, the quiet pride of those who returned with trophies, and the somber remembrance of those who did not. The warrior's life was bound by discipline and loyalty, an echo of the empire's larger rhythms of order and chaos. Priests held a unique role, bridging the human and divine. Their days were spent in temples filled with incense, chanting softly in Nahuatl, weaving the threads of ceremony and prophecy. They tended to sacred fires, prepared offerings, and interpreted omens. Their robes were dyed with bright colors and embroidered with sacred symbols. They moved with deliberate grace, carrying staffs carved with serpents or eagles. To the people, priests were guides through the mysteries of existence, keepers of cosmic balance. The Paktika, or merchant class, were the empire's eyes and ears beyond the city. They traveled far, trading cacao, feathers, and precious stones. Their journeys took them across mountains and deserts, bringing news, goods, and sometimes secrets. Imagine the steady pace of their caravans, the soft jingle of trade goods, the quiet exchanges in marketplaces far from home. Though not nobles, successful Paktika amassed wealth and influence, sometimes acting as diplomats or spies. Their role was vital, connecting the empire to the wider world. Despite sharp divisions, life in Tenochtitlan was interconnected. Markets, festivals, and temples were shared spaces where nobles and commoners mingled. The social order was maintained not by force alone but by shared beliefs, of gods, ancestors, and the necessity of balance. Laws were strict but known, social mobility possible through military valor or tribute. Imagine the quiet negotiations of daily life, the respect paid to elders, the offerings left at household shrines, the unspoken understanding of one's place in the cosmos. The Aztec calendar guided all aspects of life. Each day carried ritual significance, each season brought festivals honoring the gods. The agricultural calendar dictated planting and harvest, while the ceremonial calendar marked sacrifices, dances, and royal events. This weaving of time gave life a gentle predictability, a constant rhythm, like the rising and setting sun. Imagine the people moving through these cycles, each action imbued with meaning, each moment connected to the eternal. As we draw this segment to a close, imagine the layers of life in Tenochtitlan, voices blending in markets and temples, footsteps echoing in palace halls, the scents of earth, fire, and flowers mingling softly. The Aztec Empire was not just a place of conquest or collapse, it was a living, breathing mosaic of human experience. The contrasts you have seen, the noble and commoner, warrior and priest, merchant and farmer, each thread wove into the fabric of a remarkable civilization. And though that fabric was torn, many threads remain, connecting past and present in a gentle continuum. Now, as your breath slows and the world around you softens, let these stories rest lightly in your mind. Think of the sun setting over the lake, the gentle lap of water, the fading chants of temple ceremonies. The past is a quiet companion, a lullaby whispered across time. May this journey into the collapse of the Aztec Empire bring you peace, reflection, and calm. Sleep well, knowing that history's rhythms echo softly, inviting you to rest. And now, as the last echoes of our story fade into the silence around you, you may find yourself floating, lightly, between worlds. Between memory and imagination. Between the past, and the comfort of this present moment. We have traveled together across the centuries, quietly, gently, into the heart of an empire that once stood at the center of a shimmering lake. We've walked the narrow paths of Chinampas, felt the weight of morning rituals and market rhythms, and heard the songs of priests rising into the blue sky. We've stood beside Montezuma, a man burdened by belief, caught in the slow tremble of change. We've wandered through temples and symbols, myths carved into stone and calendar. And we've watched the soft footsteps of nobles and commoners alike as they moved within the deliberate choreography of a structured world. Perhaps you are still awake, mind drifting gently between thoughts, or perhaps you've already slipped away into sleep, cradled by the slow current of the past. Either way, there is no rush. No need to stir. The Aztec Empire, for all its power and intricacy, is gone now. Its great city buried. Its temples worn by time. And yet, it is not truly lost. Its spirit lives on in whispers, in the Nahuatl language still spoken by millions, in the festivals of Dia de los Muertos, in the colors of maize and marigold that return each harvest season, in the quiet pride of descendants who still feel the pulse of something older than borders, older than names. In truth, the rhythm of their lives, so different from ours, yet so deeply human, continues to echo, softly, in the corners of our world. And now, as your breath deepens, and your body settles into stillness, let go of the weight of time. Let the threads of history dissolve into a soft, warm blur. Let the silence of the ancient lake wash gently over you. You are safe. You are here. The past is quiet now. And in that quiet, you may rest. Good night, and thank you for listening to Historical Nights. Until next time, may peace and sleep find you gently.